laners when no one else was playing weapon laners last season. He's played the Samuel in lane a few times now. Actually adapted to playing it Crystal Power in the lane, which is really a much better adaptation than what we saw originally. It's also just a change for SK because so often we talk about Tyra's and being a Crystal Power, mage-focused jungler, and he was able to make that weapon Grumpjaw work extremely well as well.
So both these teams like banning Baron and Samuel usually, especially Mousesports. They banned Samuel 3 times in the last yesterday. So let's see if the Baron ban's going to come out again, or are they going to take away Grumpjaw here from SK. But that Vox ban is very interesting. It's very directed towards Apfel, who's extremely proficient on Vox. But if Vox is not available for him, he normally can play a pretty nasty Gwen. So they're very flexible in terms of their carry picks here. But Mousesports really think about the pick, and they're going to go ahead and take away the Grace.
Yeah, so the Grace ban, I think, in reaction to the Vox ban specifically, because Vox is so good against Grace, you have to assume SK were wanting that Grace as a first pick.
Yeah, most likely the case. I mean, it's something that pretty much anyone would want Grace as a first pick. I feel it's such a strong hero. But this does leave open a lot of power picks. Both the Grumpjaw and the Baron are available. And so I'm curious to see where SK is going to go with this, but I'm really glad that they actually banned away that Vox, because Mousesports, that is by far their most played hero. They've played the Vox 9 times already for Apfel, so taking you off that comfort pick is huge.
Yeah, and I like the Lara pick here because a healer's out of the picture. I mean, they're still a dodger, but he's just not as good as a captain, depending on the composition. He could still work, though, but those are 2 strongest healers in the game, is Grace and Lyra. So if one is banned, you take the other one. And Lyra is good into Baron, so that's why I don't think they picked the Baron first pick there. So Mousesports now has that option to take, Grumpjaw, Baron, but they're going to take Arden here. And I think they should ban Baron if they're not going to play Baron, or they should ban Grumpjaw if they're going to play Baron. So they're going to go ahead and ban the Baron and now potentially pick up Grumpjaw with Arden, which is a very strong composition here. So I think SK...
I would assume SK banned the Grumpjaw here. It doesn't let that one go through.
Yeah, it certainly feels like a strong ban in this situation. We'll see where SK are going to go with this one. Certainly an interesting draft, though, with both first picks being the captains, but also, like, Baron and Grumpjaw making it through to second ban. We'll see if Grumpjaw will be banned away. It's Kestrel, so I'm the Doom getting his Kestrel removed here. That does mean Grumpjaw's open.
And they could go for this Grumpjaw now. Obviously, like Suji was saying.
Or Samuel,
potentially. Batiste also open.
Samuel is actually a pick that they are not really big on Mousesports. They haven't played it this season. They banned it away.
He plays Blackfeather more.
Yeah,
they banned
it away 5 times, but they haven't actually picked it.
We'll see where they are going to go with this one. Certainly a lot of picks open. They could also go for a carry pick here if they really want as well. Pick something up that they don't want their opponents to have.
And the
Samuel does come through.
Out.
So we're finally going to see, or potentially I'm the Doom on Samuel. Maybe Apfel takes it. Maybe he wants to show Kavala how it's done.
Just because with Arden, Samuel is just so strong. That combo like counters Taka. Like Taka has not won against an Arden Samuel.
I think a lot of it is also just to take the Samuel away from SK Gaming, not letting Tyras get that with a Lyra, because Lyra Samuel is arguably even a stronger combo. And so, but it does leave this Grumpjaw. We just saw yesterday Tyras had a phenomenal Grumpjaw game.
Yeah, we've got a Lyra in there. We could see that. Grumpjaw, Lyra,
yeah, if they run a Dodger here, that's a pretty scary competition. So much pressure early game, double heal on a Grumpjaw. I mean, Grumpjaw's a monster in the early game, so he can do so much damage, and especially as weapon and double heal. So let's see if they're going to go ahead and go with that, or maybe they may take away a carry that they think Mousesports wants to run. Oh, so they're going to take Idris. So it's a CP Grumpjaw, which... Oh, no, it's going to be CP Idris. SK has played CP Idris, actually, so this makes a lot of sense. So I really like the draft here coming up from SK. CP Idris is a monster late game. Probably the best carry late game in the game right now because of his damage output.
Well, it's definitely a very aggressive comp coming out from SK. We'll see how Mousesports are going to answer that. Obviously, Arden, very good into aggressive comps, very good at peeling his carries. We'll see what is going to be going into the lane for Mousesports. It could well be the Samuel going into the lane, but I feel like that's more likely.
Apfel plays Glaive. Glaive is normally pretty good into an Idris. They're pretty even, I would say, but against CP Idris, Glaive wants to get on him. So we're going to play Rona, actually, someone tanky, to counter that Grumpjaw and Idris here.
It certainly works when they dive onto you. Rona is going to be good at getting toe-to-toe with the likes of Grumpjaw. It's going to be interesting, though. We've not seen a Rona in a fair few games coming through here. in the European Vainglory8. How are we feeling about these two compositions then, guys?
I'm kind of liking the SK draft a little bit better just because Idris and Grumpjaw are so incredibly strong. Like I said, we haven't really seen a whole lot of Rona. We've only seen her 3 times. One of those times was, however, Mousesports, so they have run this hero before. The Samuel is going to be the big question mark for me because we haven't seen I'm the Doom on this Samuel this season. So that's going to be interesting to see how well they're able to play against, because it's something they've banned away but haven't picked. And more often than not, that's usually because it's something that they're not comfortable playing.
I have to say, though, if you want someone reliable on CP junglers, I'm the Doom's probably the guy.
Yeah, for sure. I think the draft is pretty even, but I think SK probably has a slightly better draft because if they engage with the weapon Grumpjaw, that's a ton of damage along with the Chakram from her CP Idris. That's going to delete Rona, even though she's pretty tanky. However, Mousesports can do well too. If they engage with a Drifting Dark and initiate against a Grumpjaw and do not allow him to initiate, then they can also win fights too with gauntlets and stuff like that, and with Samuel Sleep. So we'll see how this plays out, but I think SK wins this game.
All right, so we have an SK desk right here. Despite Mouse's previous performances, this is the most mortal Mouse have looked this week here in the Vainglory8. We'll see if SK can knock them off their pedestal. Hashtag Vainglory8 is how you can let us know who you are going to be supporting going on into this one. Do you believe in that SK upset, I suppose, or do you believe in Mouse? Let's find out as we head on to the Halcyon Fold.
Thank you very much, guys. My name is George, joined by AJ, and you aren't half wrong, Munch. Can SK topple the Titans that are Mousesports right now? They are 11 points ahead in the point standings right now, AJ.
They are, and honestly, Mouse have looked incredible this split. But, as was mentioned earlier on, they looked a little bit more mortal than we've seen them yesterday when they were playing. So, perhaps they are slowing down a little bit, or perhaps the other teams are catching up a little bit. We'll have to see who's able to outperform them, if anyone. SK Gaming can be our first team to try. Looking at the compositions, I have to admit, if there's any comp that SK could run that I liked into Mouse, sort of conceptually here, this would maybe be it. I really like Kvalifar on these melee laners, although Apfel, bit of disrespect here, picking up Kvalifar's Rona. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, you'd normally see it the other way around, right? Yeah, maybe not Apfel on the Idris, but you'd definitely see Kvalifar on the Rona. I mean, how does the Rona work in this composition, though? That's kind of the big question, because there's so much AoE CC coming out from Mouse. It's going to be very easy for him to kind of get these massive into the fray, into red mists.
Do have a bit of a fight going on down here in the jungle. I don't know if Tyrus can keep it going, though. He might try and jump in one more time.
Yeah, can't really find the damage on Just Man. He might want to go under the turret, but he decides against it. There's a lot of damage coming out from under Doom. He's going to be able to just poke them back now. His Drifting Dark is on cooldown for another second or so. There it is. It is going to come out, but SK, they are more than safe, I think, exiting the jungle at this point.
So, talking about the Rona and how it's going to work in the composition, honestly, the biggest thing Rona will do in this game is more of a defensive function than an offensive one. When the members of SK, who are, the damage dealers are both melee, try and jump in and be aggressive, it's very easy for Apfel to just red mist on top of them and really annihilate the front line. Kvalifar might go Crystal to avoid that, though. Let's see. He's about to make his first purchase.
Yeah, Raph's actually going to go down, though. I'm the Doom. He went to help Tyras just contest that front healing camp, but ends up just sacrificing his own life. First blood will go over to Mouse.
All right, so Kvalifar also, by the way, he's going Crystal. I thought that was likely going to be the case, because otherwise Run is too good into this comp. This does make it a little bit more difficult for Apfel to be effective, but it is a very mobile melee hero. Like, you have 2 gap closers on Rona. This is someone who can keep up with Kvalifar whilst he's trying to kite. So I like the Rona pick. I think it could do a lot of work here. I think, on the current update where things like Shiv are good, this is definitely a pick that works. Tension Bow, honestly, on this update could also be good on Rona, just because of the fact that, you're jumping in, you're doing a lot of burst anyway. Why not pick it up? It's going to supplement that.
Supplement it dearly. Okay, let's speak about, we've had a look at Mouse's composition in terms of how Apfel interacts with the team fights, but what about Kvalifar on this Idris? We've seen a lot of weapon power Idris, but going the CP route as well into Mouse, do you think that's actually going to help them in terms of this massive burst damage that they do have?
So the CP Idris is going to be able to do a lot of poke damage, is going to kind of force the hand, potentially, of Mouse in some of these situations. I don't know if it stacks up particularly well against Samuel, though. Samuel does have a very long effective range that he can deal damage to Kvalifar from, whilst Kvalifar's is a little bit lower. Biggest difference being that the Chakram actually passes through things, whereas the Drifting Dark does not. So it's going to be largely about whether or not Kvalifar can find good windows of opportunity to move up, get good poke damage down. I think that could be challenging against Rona, who can very quickly engage upon you, especially with backup from Arden. What it definitely does, though, is it has incredibly high damage, right? Like, CP Idris is really difficult to deal with. It also has a pretty strong spike as soon as you hit your discipline from your perk, so again, it really is just going to come down to whether they're able to utilize it sooner than later, I'd say. Especially with Weapon Grumpjaw, you want to be going sooner. Samuel and Rona do a lot in the late game.
Yeah, that they do. Samuel especially, being able to kite back from the Grumpjaw is going to be extra important. And extra importance is going to rely on I'm the Doom staying alive in these fights. Apfel's going to have a lot of sustain with the Serpent's Mask, which you can imagine he's going to go first item. But Tyro's already on the way to his Tension Bay. SK have got control of the lane as Mousesports do actually wander down towards that jungle shop. It did intensify, so they're going to pick up their first little power spikes here. Apfel actually going for this poison ship, which makes a lot more sense than Serpent's Mask, in all honesty.
Yeah, it's just a really, really good item right now. Serpent's Mask is not quite comparable. Plus, taking that Mortal Wounds perk against a Lyra is very strong. Whoa, that's a lot of damage.
Damage. Yeah, every time I see a Grumpjaw, and I think I said this yesterday as well, every time I see a Grumpjaw, I'm like, geez, man, that damage is so good. It's actually insane. With that tension bow, it's a bit ridiculous to deal with.
I think I've made my point about Grumpjaw damage enough times. I'm just going to leave it from now on and pretend it's normal and okay. But right now, you can see Kvalifar doing a lot of work in the lane, just shoving it up. It is quite difficult for Apfel to farm safely. Oh,
hang on a minute. Stuffed lands on I'm the Doom. He's just going to get escorted out underneath the turret. There you go. That's going to kill. Kvalifar tightens the score up 1-1.
Very nice use of the ultimate there by Tyrus. This guy's a monster. And of course, Grumpjaw, along with Samuel, probably two of his best picks. That also means that he knows how to play into the Samuel. Wow, Apfel. He can really go in and do a lot of damage before just backing out pretty safely, although Kvalifar does have a decent amount of threat as well, especially now that he's triggered Discipline for the ranged attacks. He has a lot of options here. If he had ultimate, Apfel probably dies in that exchange, but without it, much harder to make work.
Kvalifar in a lot of trouble. He's stayed way too long in that lane. Oblivion is going to miss, but I'm the Doom snipes him out. There we go. That tiny green electric bolt finds him, and they are going to actually take the lead again. So I'm the Doom picking up that Frostburn was pretty big for him.
It was indeed easily able to snipe the kill down. Kvalifar overstayed his welcome. I guess he was thinking, all right, I'm about to hit level 6. If I do, I can kill Apfel. That is a very solo queue mentality, though, so you got to be careful about that when you're playing in competitive games. You've got to know that your opponents expect that and are doing something to react to it. In this case, rotating their jungler up. Things are pretty even, though, between the two teams. I feel like both of these teams have similar ability to fight in the mid-game. It's really once we hit the sort of severe late-game stages that I think Mouse pull ahead.
Well, that late game is going to be a little while just yet, AJ. SK still have a lot of bang for their buck. Tyra's making his way towards... He's got 6 sins, so, I mean, he's not straight going towards the Monocle. But Kvalifar has got a heck of a lot of damage. He's obviously picked up that Frostburn. Oh, hang on a second. Justman gets devoured. Tried to block it. It didn't work. There's the dash. Tyrus delivers him to the turret. Red Mist from Apfel is going to be pretty big. Kvalifar taking a lot of damage from I'm the Doom. That fountain being popped on the side of SK, keeping them all nice and healthy. The same on the side for Mouse. Iris is finding these stuffs time and time again. Apfel is going to find another one, though. Gauntlet's going to be pretty big. Passageway out of it. But Kvalifar and Tyrus are just stuck on Apfel. Tyrus is going to fall. That's 2 kills for Mouse now. Apfel almost going down, but pure control from Mousesports right now.
They're doing a great job in a lot of these fights. The fact that the damage was not quite there from SK to kill Justman before he popped Fountain was game-changing. Mouse now have a huge advantage that if they leverage properly could probably just snowball them to a game win because of the fact that their comp scale is a little bit nicer. We'll have to see what second items they pick up here, how they want to go for that. I really like Apfel just picking up an Aegis second. He does not need more than the Shiv to do respectable damage, and this is going to allow him to fight a lot more effectively up against Kvalifar in the mid game.
Oh man, these fights are over so fast, especially with I'm the Doom having 3 kills at this point. We're 8 minutes in. I mean, Mouse have got a K gold lead, yes, but SK, they're finding these fights rather handily, and it's all off the back of Tyrus as well. I mean, if you kind of look at SK's engage, Kvalifar, yes, can engage, but he's going to get deleted by Apfel, but Tyrus, using that stuff, that's 2 of 2 now, and it was even blocked almost as well by Justman. Just pop the Crucible, or the Aegis, I should say, just a fraction too late.
The problem is Kvalifar with only 1 item just doesn't have the damage to follow up. Tyrus also is a little bit behind in his offensive itemization, picking up the shield here as well. So it's been difficult for them to eat and then find a pick, especially if that pick is Justman. It's really not going to pan out too easily. Tyrus is putting a lot of pressure onto Mouse, though. I mean, if Mouse makes a mistake, if they miss position, the SK has proven that Tyrus will punish it.
They will. I mean, Tyrus very, very good in his positioning, is doing that just now. Still has stuff available, doesn't want to go for it, knows the Crucible or the Reflex blocks even are probably up. But I'm the Doom hasn't actually prioritized that in terms of itemization right now. He hasn't gone any kind of defensive itemization. With Apfel picking up the Aegis second item, and with Justman having his just a reflex block, I'm the Doom has to play so careful when faced with Tyrus in the lane. And these flanks could honestly be devastating. Tyrus comes over the wall with that hangry. You're pretty much done for if you're I'm the Doom, so it has to be extremely careful. Atlas Pauldron's being picked up from Justman, which is quite surprising. You'd think maybe it'd actually provide the Crucible instead, knowing I'm the Doom hasn't gone defensive itemization.
The thing is, though, that attack speed slows really crush Idris and Grumpjaw in this matchup. So I like the Atlas early on here. Also, notable that Kvalifar is really not doing that much damage to Apfel right now. That's part of the reason why Aegis early was so good. Tyrus has now picked up a Tyrant, though, so there is good burst here from SK. They need to try and find another window to get a good engage down, because if this game goes too long, Samuel's going to get out of control. He's already got Broken Myth on top of the Frostburn. That's a really insane amount of damage in these fights, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, it really is. It's only going to get worse, and the problem with that going worse is they're just going to be able to. They're just going to get outpoked as well. That's another massive thing in their composition. Oblivion was actually pop fire the Doom, by the way. Did use that up to the top part of the lane. Maybe a little bit of a misclick. Now we'll see if they want to actually capitalize on this. Drifted up forward. Tyrus is going to jump straight in. Apfel getting chunked out. That Monocle doing so much work. He's actually going to devour Justman. Kvalifar and Raph just escorting him out. He jumps him out straight by the turret. That passageway's big, but doesn't matter for Justman. He's going to go down in the end anyway. SK find themselves another kill with Tyrus. 3 for 3 stuffed right now. This guy's on fire.
That pick was much more like it, and they might actually find more. Kvalifar wants to go in onto Apfel around the Doom. Very bold sticking around.
Can't do anything, man. Oh, Tyrus is jumping straight into the turret. Apfel's actually just going to fall instead. I'm the Doom had no energy to deal with that engagement, and Apfel overstaying a little bit.
Whenever you're playing against a Grumpjaw and you're asking yourself, can he jump on me and can I die? The answer is always yes. Because it's such a long range dash, right? Like, it's very easy for Grumpjaw to close that distance. And right there you saw Tyrus again knowing exactly what he could do, whereas Apfel, it didn't feel like he knew Tyrus' capabilities there. This was the turnaround that SK needed to sort of stabilize. They need to keep this going, though, as I said. They do not want to hit super late game. It's all about leveraging these picks into objectives. They did find, I believe, a gold mine pretty recently, which is a nice pickup. But they definitely want to find turret pressure as well here. Because currently, Mouse is doing a very good job of shoving in the wave every time SK leaves the lane. As a result, SK's turret is falling very low, and one team fight by Mousesports would translate into a lot of, gold being picked up for them and objectives being taken.
But they're going to siege up that turret now. Yeah, at least they got that gold mine. They are behind about 1,000 right now, Mouse. Now SK using that chakram coming out from Kavalifar to such good effect, chunking that turret down. And like you alluded to actually at the start of the game, it does not double damage, but it hits twice. So that turret is going to get chunked out very, very quickly. Red miss onto 2 people, though Apfel's going in hard. Passageway backwards here for Raph. That's going to be a big gauntlet. Justman stopping. Tyrus is engaged there, but still has the stuff available. Being very, very patient. Now I'm the Doom's trying to get in a bit of damage. There comes Tyrus once more. Apfel jumping in with the into the fray. But Tyrus, the rest of his team are so low. He has to back off. Yeah, I'm the Doom, still trying to find a bit of damage. Tyrus has to be careful. Uses that Hangry to get away instead. Almost falls. These delayed, prolonged team fights from Mouse working out so well for them. They might just be able to secure the turret if they do get the last hit on. There you go, it goes down. Justman, I think, is going to give up his own life, but I'm the Doom actually snipes out Raph, and in fact, the opposite happened. SK lose a member as well.
Talk about a close fight. Apfel really knows how to utilize this Rona pick. When you use your Red Mist, you actually get some fortified health. He's used that a couple of times to just barely survive and actually just create space for I'm the Doom. Speaking of I'm the Doom, though, no space for him to get away there. Tyrus finds a very easy kill. Nice turnaround. You know, they even up that trade with 1 kill and 1 turret apiece after the fact. That was a bit of overstaying from the side of Mousesports. You got to be careful after you find an advantage. If you've exerted yourselves to do that, you are then weak afterwards.
Playing around those cooldowns is pretty big for both of these teams. They're so impactful in the game, but the big cooldown that Tyrus has been able to utilize just wasn't able to actually come to fruition in that last fight, because the amount of damage and kiting potential that you saw Mouse actually have. They laid down the gauntlet. I'm the Doom was completely free to dodge in and out, in and out, in and out. And then you just saw Apfel, again, jumping in and out, in and out. And that's exactly what they're needing to do in order to kind of take out Tyrus, because Tyrus is all about that burst damage. He can't go for these massive re-engage plays if he's just getting chunked out so readily.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And Tyrus has been able to be very threatening, but Mouse has been reacting quite nicely. That's kind of the key thing to realize here. Now that I'm the Doom has an Eve of Harvest, I think we're starting to hit the point in the game where Mouse just becomes very difficult for SK to deal with. That really does allow them to fight these extended fights even better than they have been previously. And honestly, Mouse has been doing very well in the extended fights up until this point. Kavalifar does have great poke, though. That's kind of the saving grace here for them. I think SK, if they can find poke before Mouse commits, then they're going to be in a reasonable position.
We'll see what they can do now, because there's still just backing off here. Mouse are giving up a lot of room to SK to actually do their own thing. That Oblivion is going to get blocked. Tyrus wants to go for something here. Bright Bulwark is going to just snare them all up. Apfel gets devoured, and Justman is going to be the target. 2v3 as Apfel was just absolutely obliterated inside Tyrus's belly. He comes out, he goes down as well. Passageway from Raph to chase off I'm the Doom. And SK, they found their feet, and Tyrus lands another stuffed.
Very disjointed and perhaps poorly coordinated initiation there from Mouse. When Justman is that far ahead of his team, it really is a disservice to the Samuel especially. Like, Samuel needs to be in a fight when his team is in a fight, not afterwards. Samuel does not have mobility. He needs to use the fact that his teammates are soaking a lot of pressure and damage in order to be able to be effective. Right now with SK picking up the Kraken, this is a great window for them to try and put the pressure on, try and find a couple more turrets here before Mouse hit, I guess, you know, an even late game spike. I feel like Mouse should be winning these fights. There has been some execution problems, though.
I mean, I'm the Doom could... the question mark could be laid over his head with these Oblivions. They just haven't really quite hit their mark. Blowing Reflex Bog, yes, is fantastic, but segregating the team of SK is what they want to do. Tyrus is going to make mincemeat of that turret. He's got the double monocle, he's got the tension bow. What more does he need, AJ? Not much is the answer. I'm going to answer that for you. That turret is going to get welled on yet again. You can see him just chomping through it. It's going to fall very quickly. SK very happy with this clean execution of this Kraken, taking 2 turrets for literally nothing.
Yeah, very difficult for Mouse to react to that, to be honest. There's good disengage on the side of SK Gaming. If they need to get out of there, they probably can, unless an Oblivion connects. And that, you know, as you mentioned, has not been happening so far. SK, with the advantages that they get there, let's have a look at what items they pick up, because that's going to be key. Aegis Infusion. I like that a lot. Aegis is key here. Helps them stay in the game against Samuel later on here.
Well, against this late game Samuel, he has got 3 items, so he's truly at that point. But can he make an impact in these fights? Because at the moment, he's doing a good job, yes, of kiting back SK, but as soon as Tyrus jumps in and devours one person, they're done. Justman just gets soloed out completely, and I'm the Doom is so vulnerable that he has to play even further back than he normally would because he hasn't got a front line. There's just too many good targets for Tyrus to actually find here, where Mouse just can't seem to deal with it in that situation.
Yeah, it's interesting because Mouse, they have a double threat comp with the Rona and the Samuel. But normally with the double threat comp, if you eat one of the threats, then the captain keeps the other threat alive and the other threat deals too much damage for you. In this comp, if, for example, Apfel gets eaten, it's actually pretty difficult because of the fact that Tyrus and Kvalifar are just so good at staying on top of I'm the Doom, who has no mobility. If I'm the Doom gets eaten, Apfel does not have nearly enough damage to be effective in the 2 versus 1, and SK get a huge advantage there. Also, if Justman gets eaten, normally having 2 damage threats left on the board is really bad news for the team who's eaten someone, because the Grumpjaw just dies. But Apfel does not have enough damage for that to be the case here.
Well, Apfel's going to try and make something work, though. He almost gets destroyed instantly. He ends up falling in the end. Tyrus is just chasing I'm the Doom now. Beautiful reflex block through the gauntlet. I'm the Doom's just going to get soloed out completely. Kvalifar finds the last hit with the chakra, and that Crystal Sentry is going to go down. And Justman's gauntlet, though well placed, just did not dissuade SK's aggression.
That was a really nice play by SK. Idris showing some of his strength into the Rona there, actually. You can use the ultimate, of course, to just avoid a lot of that red mist. With the turrets going down here, SK might just find game 1 pretty fast, Joss.
Yeah, Apfel has got a couple of seconds till he respawns, but look at Tyrus just melting through the turrets, melting through the crystal. SK Gaming will find game number 1 over Mouse, and they are truly toppling the Titans.
It honestly says a little bit about trying to pick picks that SK knows so well, right? Like, you're picking Rona, Samuel, Kvalifar, and Tyrus is sitting here like, well, we're going to do this against you, and it's going to work because this is like the only way we lose games or something along those lines. I'm excited to see what they bring in game number 2, though. Mouse does tend to be a team that can bounce back.
We'll see if they can bounce back, but Munch, you guys can discuss and break down this game a little bit more.
Topple the Titans indeed. SK Gaming 1-0 up in this series, and it felt like even though the composition from Mouse was like gonna get better and better as the game went on, it was gonna be good at teamfighting, Tyrus just ripped them apart on that Grumpjaw.
Yeah, Grumpjaw is very, very strong unless you have specific counters to it. Mentioned earlier, 5 of the Grumpjaw's 7 losses, it was Scarf Orchestral on the other side. I feel like you have to have one of those 2 picks if you're going to try and go toe-to-toe with a Grumpjaw.
Yeah, I mean, like, Tyrus, to me, felt like he was just running away with the game, but there was obviously a lot more to it.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning of the game, once he got level 6, he landed 3 of his 3 eats and made a lot of plays. And even in the late game, there's a lot of critical eats here. He eats I'm the Doom, drops him, and it just kills him from there. And he actually did it with Justman too, again. And that helps him secure a lot of key kills because they're actually behind kills against Mousesports in the early game, and then they just came back here. And beautiful play by Mousesports here, winning this key fight and getting those 4 kills versus 1. And then SK just turned it around. They actually traded a turret for a turret and a kill for a kill. But then once Grumpjaw got online with Tenchible, Monaco, I knew, okay, this is going to go out a different way because Samuel had no defense, and Rona didn't build that much armor. She did not build armor. She rushed Aegis, so if Grumpjaw gets on her, he'll just do so much damage, she gets so low, and that happened a lot of times. Apfel just couldn't get in the fight and stay in the fight. He just blew up, and that happened so many times.
Yeah, and we have a few clips of the late game as well, where we have examples of that, where Mouse just couldn't really get their team fight going properly. They were just getting blown up, as Suijay said.
Yeah, it was just a difficult opportunities for the side of Mousesports. Once that burst comes through, again, they eat the Arden, kill one of the carries before the Arden is even spit out, so there's no chance for the fountain to come through. It was just the target focus from SK was so on point.
And like this last fight from Mouse kind of just felt a bit like desperation, right? It felt like, okay, we're so far behind now. We've got to make something happen. It wasn't quite enough at the end of the day. And now SK lead against Mouse 1-0. A sentence I wasn't necessarily expecting to say coming into today, you know? Mouse have been dominant across Europe. And now, this week, we're finally starting to see a couple of the cracks in the armor, perhaps, and SK might just be the team to exploit those.
Yeah, Mouse played a little passive. I mean, Samuel at one point had 6 broken mid stacks. He's just poking away when SK was pushing towards the second turret. And I felt right there, Either Doom should have used a Drifting Dark and went aggressive onto the team because he would have had 7, 8, 9 broken mid stacks and they would have won that fight. But they just backed off. And I don't know, the ultimates weren't landing too. The Oblivion sleeps were not landing on the enemy team. It was just, he wasted one in lane by just misclicking. So I felt like they weren't, I'm the Doom wasn't on his best footing for sure today.
All right, we'll see whether that's going to continue to be a theme. We're going to start to look towards the draft now. What has to change for Mouse to get back into this series? Is it just a matter of you have to ban Grumpjaw no matter what at this stage?
You don't have to ban Grumpjaw, you just have to play against it a bit better than what Mousesports just did. And, I mean, Mousesports has been a team that they've been able to play against the really strong compositions, really strong picks previously. So it was really surprising to me to see how flat they looked against that Grumpjaw.
Yeah, we'll see whether that's going to be the case. Do you feel like, Suijay, this entire draft is kind of going to revolve around Grumpjaw after that first game, or will both teams kind of be taking a bit of a reset?
Yeah, I think Mousesports needs to ban it away, or if they're going to give it to SK, which SK loves running very early aggressive comps like Grumpjaw, Koshka, they need to pick a really hard counter into him, like Rhyme, for example. And I'm the Doom can play Rhyme, so I don't know why they first picked that Samuel, knowing that Grumpjaw's up, and not picking a hard counter into it.
All right, well, it's going to be Baron and Grace banned away, which means Grumpjaw would be available for a first pick for Mousesports right here if they wanted it. If they don't, will be available for Tyrus again. We saw what he can do. Vox is going to be the lock-in.
Yeah, this is, again, just the most played hero for Mousesports. They have so much emphasis on getting this Vox into Apfel's hands, and so it's a great first pick for them.
Something we've not actually seen as much this week. In week 1 and 2, Vox was like 100% pick nearly. I don't know the actual stat, but very high up in terms of pick rate. This last week, less so, but Batiste and Kestrel ban are going to be the next 2 following.
Yeah, and there's that respect ban coming out again against I'm the Doom's Kestrel, and they banned Idris instead of Grumpjaw. I think that's very risky because Grumpjaw actually enables a lot of other carries to excel. So now Grumpjaw is open for SK, and Grumpjaw Batiste is actually a very strong combo that we've seen other teams run. So I guess Mousesports must have a counter. They're looking to maybe pick a Rhyme into this composition if SK decides to take the Grumpjaw, but SK is not going to take that Grumpjaw, and they're going to go with Arden here. So that does leave now Grump open on the side of Mousesports.
And this is assuming they want to pick it up. If they do grab it, it would very likely end up being either an on-hit or a Crystal Grumpjaw, which it just isn't as good. It doesn't have as good of numbers, doesn't have as much damage to dish out. So I feel like Grumpjaw may end up getting through here.
So
one of the major factors in this draft as well is actually all 3 of Kavalafar's most played heroes are banned away in this game. So we're going to see Kavalafar kind of push to his limits of how deep his hero pool actually is.
Yeah, I like Blackfeather pick here. It's good into Batiste, and I'm the Doom plays a phenomenal Blackfeather. He really is able to land those on points with precision here. So with Finn as well, that makes it very hard to dive onto a Vox with Blackfeather poking you and Finn protecting the Vox. So now they can be really aggressive with force the chords, and also they can dive into the team too. Once Blackfeather gets them low enough, Vox can go in there and do a lot of damage. So on the side of SK, they need something that either can outrange this team here, or there's something they can dive onto the Vox with Batiste and Arden supporting.
We'll see what that option is going to be. It's likely that the Batiste goes to the jungle at this stage, so it's very likely that whatever they pick up is going to go into the hands of Kvalifar.
Yeah,
what are we feeling, Bacon, to counter out this team?
Well, their choices are pretty narrow because it's likely going to be weapon power. It's like Speech said, you want the dive, so I was going to say Glaive or Rona were probably the top 2. Glaive is going to come through as the selection. I love weapon Glaive in the lane. I think it has a lot of strengths, can really do some serious damage.
All right, well, those are the compositions locked on in here. How are we feeling about the win conditions for these 2 teams? What is it that Mouse has to do to get themselves back into this series, Suijay?
I think Mouse, once they get Blackfeather level 8 and Finn late game, they're going to win this match because Vox is good against Glaive. He can dance around the Glaive, and with the Finn supporting him and CCing the Glaive, it's going to be a really hard matchup for SK. So I think Mousesports will take this game.
I think actually the damage that SK has is going to be enough. I feel like with the weapon glaive, you just get a lockdown. You put an Ordained onto either of those two targets. Obviously, the Black Feather's going to try and ult out of it, but that's going to leave him vulnerable for an afterbird immediately after. So they'll have the ability to lock down one of those targets. It's just going to be a matter of if they can deal with dancing around the fin is going to be the real catalyst to this matchup.
So it's going to be a matter of chaining that CC appropriately. Well, we have a split desk here in the studio. We'll find out how the casters are feeling, but first I want to know how you guys at home are feeling. Hashtag Vainglory8 is how you can let us know who you're going to be supporting and how you're liking the games today, because we've had some crazy games, and it's time to head on into yet another crazy game as we pass it to our casters.
Thank you very much, guys, once again for your beautiful analysis over on the desk. My name is George, joined by AJ for game number 2 of Mousesports versus SK. SK, one game up right now. Can they go to the finals? And can they topple the Giants once again? Because that game, that was almost nail-biting last time, AJ.
It really was. I mean, there were a lot of windows where Mouse could have made it happen, but just didn't quite do it. SK, though, they've got some strong picks on their side. We've got to talk about Mouse. They've got comfort. I mean, abounding, right? Like, Vox for Apfel, this is a hero he's had incredible success on. I'm the Doom has been playing a lot of Black Feather. This one's actually been a little bit more mixed in terms of the straight-up success rate of it, but it's certainly something he feels good and comfortable on. Kvalifar nearly taking down Apfel straight off the bat here. That's interesting up in the lane. Glaive can certainly do a lot of work early.
Yeah, that he can. I mean, he's just making sure Apfel knows his place, eh? You're comfort champion, but, you know, I'm also a massive Hungarian cat with a massive icy axe, so, you know where you stand. And Apfel was just having to play a little bit further back now, calling Just Man up as well, which actually leads Raph and Tyrus to come over and take this Elder Tree, and so that's actually a big win for them on the early aggression that was Kvalifar.
Yeah, I mean, that was the correct response, right? That's exactly what SK needed to do as soon as they saw Just Man up there. If you're going to stop getting an advantage in the lane, why not try and find one somewhere else on the map? And this is something that, you know, is often the case with Finn. Finn is not particularly good in 2 versus 2 jungle fights early. Much better at providing protection for your carry in the lane. Although, frankly, like, overall, not great in the early game. Finn is more of a late game hero. We'll have to see if Just Man can reach that scaling. Black Feather with Crystal early game does do a lot of work. But again, the 2 versus 2, I don't know if it really compares from Mousesports here.
Tyrus now proving that it doesn't compare. That's the right C word. Right, he's just going to come up. He's going to take away the front campsite. The dude's going to get jump on. The Ordained's just going to run out though. He's not going to get stunned by it. Tyra's doing a fair bit of damage behind the Doom. He's going to have to go on the retreat. Tyra's still chasing him. Raph using that Vanguard shield on Tyra's behind the Doom just too quick. Tyra's still chasing him. He's got the side. Can he find the kill? Just about finds it. Ordained comes out onto Just Man, and now he's in a sticky situation. Bad mojo and the shield from Raph's going to be big, but Apfel's around the corner. Double kill for Tyrus. Now Apfel, can he find something? One more basic attack will find at least 1 kill, but Kvalifar is going to re-enter the fight. Apfel's going to get torn apart when Kvalifar can come find that last hit. I'm not sure he can. Oh no! SK, they find 2, but Apfel at least trades 1 back.
See, that's the kind of situation that makes me very thankful there's not just like straight up text chat in Vainglory. Because if I was Kvalifar, I would have seen that play, came down, nearly killed Apfel, and like mid-fight I would have said worth, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, to
absolutely.
try and make Apfel feel a little bit dicey about the play. But then Apfel would have gotten away and I would have hated myself. So I like the fact that that didn't happen. Kvalifar very nearly picking up a kill. That would have been a devastating series of events for Mouse had it happened. But even still, I mean, SK do find 2 kills for 1 there, and I believe they got the sentry as well. That's a pretty big advantage to pick up in the early game. Mouse, their hand is being forced in a lot of situations. They're trying to react to what SK is doing. You never want to be the ones reacting to your opponents. Ideally, you'd rather be the one setting the pace. But with the compositions as they are, Mouse really do need to wait until later in the game to be the ones really setting their own plays up.
Well, SK definitely realized this, and already Tyrus and Raph are back in the jungle behind the Doom. Just Man is here, though, so we'll be able to use that Polite Company just to get a little bit of fortified HP, but Kvalifar is going to come up too. And that's the big thing about Finn. If you saw that small interaction with the Ordained, doesn't actually get stunned up because he can't. He only just resists it and gets slowed down a little bit. So a really nice pick into Tyrus' Baptiste, but the rest of his team, not so much. Cavalifar taking a little bit of damage from Atfel, but they're going to be more than fine as they got Raph to back him up.
Yeah, and Cavalifar is healing a lot off killing these minions as well. This is one of the things that makes melee laners work in Vainglory. Having the Book of Eulogies to begin with, and then later on, the other lifesteal items, does allow you to sustain very effectively against your ranged counterparts in the lane. Right now, I Am the Doom is actually starting to get very antsy, moving up and stealing front camps away from Tyrus, but Tyrus wants to fight here.
Does. I'm not sure if he's got the damage necessary right now. He doesn't have a full item. Then neither do any of the members of Mouse. He wants to go in and for a little bit of damage here. Justman's going to be in the front line. Trueman Quibble. There comes the Fountain. Cavalifar on the back line now is going fairly low, but it's going to get supported by Raph. That Vanguard shield was huge. They'll trade 1-for-1 though, with I'm the Doom securing the kill for Mouse. They're going to chase up Raph and Atfel. You can see on the side just kiting away. They're still going to find the kill though. Raph picks up a double, but now it's Atfel and Tyrus in a 1v1. Bad Mojo misses. He can't afford to miss another skill shot, but I'm not sure it matters. Another Bad Mojo hits 367 damage exactly, and SK, they find the near ace.
That was closer than it maybe looks on the surface, because you got to realize Raph bought his Fountain right when he was about to die, and that is the only reason SK came out ahead. We had already seen Mouse go to the shop, so they already had their Fountain. Very different story, able to actually use that in the first instance meant that Cavalifar had to trade his life for the first kill. This is definitely a game of inches here, Jaws. I think that SK are barely, in a lot of these situations, coming out ahead. That's credit to Mouse for managing to keep these early game fights with a kind of a later game comp so close. But at the same time, SK is still coming out ahead. And they are still a comp that can abuse that as we enter the later stages of the early game and the mid game itself.
Well, you talked about the late game for Mouse being a little bit more strong compared to SK's. Does look like Atfel actually picking up the Sorrow Blade first item. No Tension Bow, no Poison Shiv, no nothing else. Just picking up that Sorrow Blade for the raw damage. Now Tyrus walking up. That Bad Mojo is doing a fair bit of work, but they've got to be careful here. That Ordained is going to do a lot, and you can see already Atfel getting jumped on. Nice block though, that reflex block. Very fast on the taps, and he's able to save himself from Cavalifar's wrath.
That was a nice amount of damage being picked up quite quickly by SK, though. With Apfel so low on health, this is a window for SK to either force a Fountain or take an objective. Either one of those is great for them because they can leverage it into more later on. I think just going for turret here is definitely doable. They can take it down slowly but surely with poke from Tyrus, although it seems like maybe they want to go for the gold miner. This has a higher upside potential, but it's riskier. If they actually end up fighting a fight, SK should theoretically win it. We'll see what happens.
Theoretically, Gold Miner going very low here. Mouse, they're on the aggression. Forced to call actually brings the Gold Miner in. It's going to get secured by Mouse as well. Triple silence comes out from Atfel, but he's soon to just go down. Justman is going to get killed as well. And SK, they lose the Gold Miner, but they take 2 kills and possibly a turret off the back of it.
This is why I described as higher risk, right? Like, if you just slowly attrition down the turret, it's a slower play. Like, literally, it gets you an advantage slower. But also, it's very risk-free because you're just poking, and there's no punish for that that Mouse really has, other than a forced accord if you don't Crucible. But if you go for the gold mine, A, the gold mine might get stolen away. B, you might take too much damage from it and then lose a fight. SK ended up trading gold mine for turret. That's kind of how you can think about that, and they also got 2 kills. So it ended up very well for them, but it definitely was a riskier play. I kind of like the higher variance, higher risk plays when you're the early game team, because so long as you have good expected results, right? Like you're expecting 65% of the time, 75% of the time that play works well for SK, then it's the play that wins you the game, rather than just taking the slower, more methodical approach. This is something SK has always been great at doing. They find the aggressive play that's going to win them the game if they have an aggressive comp, and they play it properly when many teams kind of falter in exactly that sort of situation.
I just can't believe you drive the gold miner over a forced accord to steal it. That's what I can't get my head around, AJ. It looks funny because he was like, oh, he's going to go for the Forster cut. Wait, the gold miner gets dragged over. What the hell? All right, I thought I was going to get jumped on yet again. Yeah, exactly. Why not? Wait for it, though. He's going to come through. Here comes the Gauntlet. That's massive. Apfel just gets feared to death. Just Man on the retreat as well. That Gauntlet usage coming from Raph, absolutely godlike. I'm the Doom in a 1v1 with Tyros. Raph's going to back him up. There we go. Another kill. Make that a double. Almost an ace if Just Man goes down. Cavalifar, one more hit. Not going to miss this one, are you, buddy? Ace comes through for SK. They are looking absolute fire right now. Crystal Sentry's going to fall. The wave's going to get pushed. 10 and 3, 9 minutes. What more do you want, AJ?
Mouse is kind of collapsing right now, Jaws. I mean, fighting that fight, definitely unnecessary. They weren't contesting a gold mine. Oh, now Apfel's gotten ordained.
Oh dear. Oh, he's dead. All right. Well, he's done for. That was anticlimactic after the Mojo just sailed past him. Turret is going to get chunked out as well. Mouse looking quite nervous right now. I'm the Doom is going to find himself on the wrong side of Cavalifar. That turret in the lane is going to get taken. Nice force to call onto Cavalifar. He's going fairly low, but I'm the Doom cannot trade that up with any more damage. Mouse, the Titans are getting slowly toppled, but Just Man looking for a little something here, but, you know, Tyrus has got a lot of mobility. He's got the Ordained up in a couple of seconds. In all honesty, they could probably turn it, but decide against it.
Yeah, SK, I like playing safe there in particular, because now you have such a good lead that you can just fight whenever you want and win. But if you fight when you don't necessarily want to, you're risking throwing away the lead, so why bother? I've got a question why Mouse was fighting that previous fight in the first place, though. They weren't really contesting a gold mine. They could have just shopped at home if they wanted to shop. They did not actually catch anyone out, and they should have known that that was the case. It definitely showed a sort of lapse in focus, I would say, from Mousesports. This could be the first time they don't make it to the finals here, Jaws. SK looks fantastic so far in this game. They're already one game up. Mouse, maybe the pressure of even just that situation is causing them some trouble here.
Gold payout
Maybe it is, and one big question mark you have to kind of put over is, or think about at least, is Apfel. He's on his signature Vox, a very, very proficient Vox player. Not having a good game at all, and SK drafting, you could say, almost perfectly against it. The amount of engaged potential they do have and lockdown for Apfel, it's very hard for him to do anything. He's the first target of every single initiation. Gauntlet's going to come down. Apfel with a cheeky block isn't going to be able to block that, and the damage coming out from Cavalifar's huge. Triple silence from the wait for it is going to hit SK. Raph is very, very low. I'm the Doom trying to come forward, but he just gets stunned and deleted. No, not today. You're not killing our supports. Tyrese is going to pick himself up a two-piece, and Just Man is just going to get chased out once again. Ordain's going to get resisted. Mortal wound. What more do you want? SK just going to run him down, and that's going to be a little bit of a delayed ace, but they still managed to get it.
Ace.
Honestly, I'm the Doom made a big mistake there. He had ultimate available. I believe he used some of his resource there for a different ability, even though Ordained was like likely to come out. As a result, he went down after getting stunned by it. That's the only reason Mouse couldn't turn the fights, because he got blown up. That was their window. Everyone was low. They'd all been AoE'd down. They could have done something. But one misplay ends up with them being in a man disadvantage, and they just can't do it. Also, another advantage to Mouse in that fight, Tyrus was miles behind the initiation. That was actually quite a poor play overall from SK at the beginning, because they were engaging too far ahead of their big damage threat at this point. It's got to feel rough, and I think this really does speak to what we were talking about earlier, Jaws. Mouse probably are not used to being in this position, because they haven't had it happen in the VG8 so far. I don't think they're dealing well with the pressure.
It is such a stark contrast, and that's what's so surprising to me, is that they're not, you're right, they're not dealing with the pressure whatsoever. And a team that has been on top for multiple weeks and look like the brand new giants of EU are struggling under the pressure of SK. I mean, you look at SK's position on the point ladder right now, on the point standings right now, they have got 7 points. Mouse have 11 over them. And Mouse are just crumbling right now. It's a 4k gold advantage for SK, and they just might take the series here. They're going to look to take this turret. They're ignoring Mouse completely. Here's some shade. It's going to get a block, which is going to be pretty big. Valifar's focusing on that turret, but that's going to be a two-man quibble. There comes the Gauntlet. He's going to stun up one. I'm the Doom is in a lot of trouble, but they do manage to check out Tyrus in the start of the fight. Now, Valifar is going to join after taking that turret. And the target is going to be Atfel, but Atfel, too good at kiting on the Vox, is going to be able to secure the kill on him. That's going to be an ace for Mouse. There's no Kraken available to them, so is that worth it for SK just to open up the base there?
No, not at all. I have no idea what just happened, Joss. That was so
all right,
uncoordinated from SK. Like, Kvalifar made the decision to go for the turret. I think that was probably the most controversial of the decisions in that fight. If he had just turned around when everyone was stacked and gotten some AoE damage down, very different fight. You're quite likely to actually take a good amount of damage directly onto your opponents there. They've lost gold mine that was decently well stacked, and turret, and 3 kills worth of comeback gold to that fight. You were just talking about a 4k gold deficit for Mouse. Now it's more like 2k. They got 2k from one play. That's way too much. That is not an advantage that SK should be giving over. I do worry now about their ability to close the game, because with Kraken spawning, one more mistake means that Mouse probably turned things. Because they are a team that just has potential to do a bit better in this late stage of the game. And they've now got items like breaking points on Apfel. Admittedly, Tyrus just picked up a broken myth, but I think, you know, Apfel having that breaking point, that's a much bigger pickup at this stage.
You spoke about their ability to bounce back. We'll see if they can do it. They're going to start off with a fight, though. They're in a short corridor. That wait for it's going to silence them all. Valifar is going to redirect Atfel to the back of the fight, and now they're just going to focus down on the Doom. He ends up falling. Look at the damage coming out from Valifar. That Gauntlet is pretty big as well. They're going to kite back. They need to kill off Just Man first, though. Atfel still running circles around SK. Also low. Gets done up by the Ordained. The bad mojo was good. Valifar takes the last hit. That was so close to a turnaround. That could have been a 1v3, but SK get the ace. They're going to get the Kraken as well, and this could be the base.
Ordain's really good against Vox. It makes it so hard for him to do what, especially in the later stages of a fight, right? Like, in the later stage of a fight, Vox tends to be alive on, like, 50 to 30% health, with a bunch of breaking point stacks, and then maybe 1 or 2 people on the enemy team are around the same health-wise. But Vox, in that situation, normally just dashes around, dodges all the skill shots, and finds a kill freely. Because when Vox struggles is at the beginning of a fight where there's a lot of crowd control available. But if Ordained is up at the end of a fight, well, that's a different story, because you can't use your dash at all. It becomes impossible to avoid the damage and you just die. So, yeah, really rough situation. Now, with Kraken pushing here, 3 members alive for SK, they have a chance to end. I think they've got 2 more fights in them before Mouse really does start to get to a point where they can compete.
And it looks so good for Mouse at the start. They're going to punch out on the Doom. He's going to be there in the front. The Kraken still marching on this base. There's no turret for the base. There's the massive fearsome shade. It's going to get blocked, and Atfel's still kiting backwards. And look at I'm the Doom. He's actually recalling here. They got out of the fight, and that's going to be a kill over to SK. Just Man's erased from the team fight. That turret's going to get taken down, no problem at all. Atfel is in that Ordained. Tyra is still walking forward. Gauntlet is going to separate them now. That Kraken is just going to get free turret time. One's going to get taken down, though. I'm the Doom gets taken out by Tyra's in the sidelines of it all, but now it's Atfel and Tyra's in a 1v1 scenario. Who's going to battle it out? Atfel dashing forward. He manages to find the kill. That Kraken's still wailing on it, but I think he doesn't have enough damage. He's just chipping on it, but I don't think he's got enough. Kraken is just and might win the game for SK. One more hit will do it. SK Gaming will see you in the finals.
And they usurp Mouse from the top dog position in the league, at least for this week. Massive win for SK. They've got to be riding a huge high after picking up that win. Mouse, on the other hand, I think we saw some real weaknesses from them here. I'm sure our analysts have plenty to talk about it. I'm curious, you know, what was the biggest issue in their mind? Because to me, it was largely about just picking fights when they couldn't afford to.
Well, we'll see what they do have to say. You guys can give us your insight, because SK looking so dominating. They toppled the giants that were Mouse.
They certainly did. SK Gaming taking a 2-0 over Mouse. A shocking result, honestly. And you gotta give huge props to Tyra's every single game. Huge stat lines coming out from him.
Absolutely massive. I mean, Tyrus is pretty much always the player to watch for SK, regardless of anything that they seem to do in the draft. Like, no matter who they're up against, their drafts just enable Tyrus to really go off and control the game when they win.
Yeah, and it